When the world feels too loud, too bright, or too much for your child, how do you respond? In this video, we'll show you calm, effective ways to support sensory overload in neurodivergent kids without overwhelm or guesswork. Hey friends, welcome to this channel where we share tips, resources, and strategies for raising happy and healthy kids with special needs. I have a bonus for you at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around and not miss out. I'm your host. Today's topic was suggested by a parent who reached out and asked me to talk about creating calm. She said her son is severely autistic and gets very upset when he hears other children screaming and yelling on the playground. And she wondered if I could offer some tips for helping him cope. So today we're going to be talking about sensory issues and how to help kids who are easily overwhelmed. This is part of our Social Skills 101 series.
Hi.
To see more videos like this one, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And while you're at it, why not leave us a like and maybe even a comment? We love reading your notes and we really appreciate your support. So let's talk about this issue of getting overwhelmed and how to prevent meltdowns from happening. First off, I think it's important to say that it's completely normal to feel upset when you hear other kids screaming. Sometimes at parks or playgrounds, things can get pretty loud. There might be lots of kids playing and being physical, adults talking loudly, music playing, and all kinds of noises competing for your attention. This can be very overwhelming for some kids, especially those of us who are neurodivergent. So your child is not alone in feeling this way. It's just a matter of finding strategies that work to lessen the anxiety it creates. First, let's define what we mean by sensory issues. Kids with sensory issues process information differently than their peers. They may react strongly to certain sights, sounds, textures, or smells that most people don't notice or don't react to at all. For instance, there are kids who are bothered by tags on their clothes or seams in their socks. These kids have tactile defensiveness. Some kids get very upset when they see other kids fighting or hear them yelling and screaming. Others have a hard time with the sound of a blender or a vacuum cleaner. Still others feel unwell when they smell freshly cut grass or perfume. When these kids experience the things they don't like, they become overwhelmed and anxious and may even panic. Sometimes it's easy to see why a kid might react badly to something. If they've been hurt before, for instance, a dog bite might make them afraid of dogs. But sometimes it's hard to understand why they're scared. Let's take a look at some possible reasons. Kids with ASD often have sensory processing issues, which means they can become overstimulated and overwhelmed by everyday things, like loud noises, bright lights, or certain textures. Kids with ADHD have trouble filtering out distractions. They may hear every little noise and feel compelled to investigate. Kids with anxiety tend to worry about what could go wrong. If they hear other kids screaming, they may imagine something terrible happening and prepare for the worst. Kids with PTSD have learned to expect danger at any moment. If they've been harmed in the past, they may jump to the conclusion that someone is hurting others and try to stop it. Finally, kids who are simply empathetic will feel upset when they hear other kids crying because they want to help. The first step toward helping our kids cope with sensory issues is to identify the problem. Pay attention to what seems to bother your child the most. Is it loud noises, sudden movements, or something else? Once you figure out what bothers them, try to avoid it when possible. For instance, if your child doesn't like loud noises, try to find quieter places for them to play. You might consider bringing headphones to the park so your child can tune out the background noise. If your child is bothered by other kids running around them, stick to quieter activities like swinging or playing on the jungle gym. You might also consider bringing bubbles to distract your child. Bubbles can be a great way to focus attention on something positive and enjoyable. Next, teach your child coping skills. Coping skills are things they can do when they start to feel overwhelmed. Some examples include taking deep breaths, counting to 10, closing their eyes, or plugging their ears. It's important to find things that work for your child and that they can do independently. This may take some trial and error, but it's worth it. You might also encourage your child to use a fidget toy or another sensory tool to help them focus. Another thing you can do is to teach your child to ask for help. If your child feels overwhelmed, encourage them to tell you or another trusted adult so you can help them calm down. You might also teach them to use a visual aid like a social story to remind them what to do when they feel upset. If your child is nonverbal, teach them to use sign language or another form of communication to tell you what they need. You can also teach other people how to help your child. If your child has a meltdown, it's important to have a plan in place. This may involve taking turns, de-escalating the situation, providing a safe space for your child to calm down, or offering a preferred activity to bring them back down to earth. The most important thing is to remember that your child is not doing this on purpose. They are genuinely struggling to cope with their environment. Be patient and understanding. Try to see things from their point of view and adjust accordingly. If your child's sensory issues are severe, they may need additional support. In that case, contact your local Autism Spectrum Disorder Society or other community organization for more resources. They can connect you with professionals who can help your child develop a sensory diet or other interventions. Now, let's go back to our original question. How can we help our kids cope with hearing other kids screaming and yelling? The answer is to teach them about emotional literacy, empathy, and self-regulation. Emotional literacy is the ability to understand and label emotions. Empathy is the ability to understand how other people feel. Self-regulation is the ability to control our own behavior in response to our emotions. All three of these things are important for helping our kids cope with what they hear on the playground. 8. Let's take emotional literacy first. When kids understand the names of emotions, they're better able to talk about them and regulate them. For instance, if your child hears other kids screaming and says, "I feel upset," that's a huge step forward. It means they're starting to understand their own emotions. You can help your child develop emotional literacy by talking about feelings often. You might ask them how they feel about certain things and help them identify the emotions they're experiencing. You might also teach them how to use a feelings chart or other visual aid to communicate their emotions. If your child doesn't talk yet, you might also teach them to recognize emotions in other people. You might ask them to describe what they see when they look at pictures of people's faces or listen to recordings of conversations. As they get better at recognizing emotions in others, they'll become more empathetic. Finally, teach your child to regulate their own emotions. When they hear other kids screaming, they can practice taking deep breaths, counting to 10, or using another coping skill to calm down. You might also teach them to ask for help or to find a quiet place to relax. The best way to teach kids self-regulation is to model it yourself. When you feel upset, show them how you manage your emotions. Talk about how you're feeling and what you're doing to calm down. As your child watches you regulate your own emotions, they'll learn how to do it themselves. Here's the thing, friends. Our kids aren't intentionally being difficult when they have a meltdown. They're struggling to cope with their environment. They need our help to understand their emotions, empathize with others, and regulate themselves. When we give them the tools they need, they can become more independent and successful in school and in life. Here is the bonus I talked about. Download your free copy of the Calm and Connected Parent Starter Kit and start building peaceful routines, reducing meltdowns, and reconnecting with your child today. Link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, friends. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Share this video with your friends and family and leave us a comment. Tell us which social skills 101 topic you'd like to see next. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you next time.